Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really hope you're staying safe and well. And in today's episode, I can't believe I haven't reviewed this one before, but this is a fragrance by the House of Creed, and this one is the 1985 iconic hit Green Irish Tweed, so make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin the video, I do want to mention that if you are interested in either sampling this fragrance, purchasing a decant, or maybe buying a bottle, it is available at maxaroma.com. I use them quite often and they're located in Long Island City, New York. I live in New Jersey, so whenever I order their package, it seems like it comes to me overnight. And this fragrance is available for a really good price on maxaroma.com. I know the 50 ml bottle of this retails for slightly above $300. Currently on maxaroma.com, if you do utilize a discount, it's slightly over $100. So it's a really fantastic price to pay for a Creed fragrance. I'm also going to leave a link down below to any discounts that are currently active that I find for the website. So make sure to utilize them if you are interested in picking up a bottle. And one of the reasons why I chose to review this fragrance is because it is often dubbed or hailed as the king of spring, and I couldn't agree more. If you look at many of the notes included therein, you have the lemon verbena, the violet, the iris, the sandalwood, the ambergris, the citrus. It's just very bright and fresh, and it is iconic in the springtime. It's a fragrance that certainly evokes thoughts and feelings of spring and rolling hills, green lush hills, and all of that good stuff. So this fragrance came out in 1985, as I mentioned earlier. So the person who is credited for composing this fragrance is Olivier Creed. So if you don't know, the company Creed is a family-owned company. It is based out of the UK, and it is from father to son, from generation to generation. So the first generation is James Henry Creed, sixth generation is Olivier Creed, and then the current generation, which is the seventh generation, is Erwin Creed. Now this particular fragrance, I know there's a lot of information out there regarding which celebrity wore it. I know many celebrities have been attributed to wearing this particular fragrance. I actually did a video on this very same topic with my friend Carlos, wherein I was talking about various celebrities who wear different Creed fragrances. I'm going to link to it down below if I remember. But this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. And considering the fact that it came out such a long time ago, more than 30 years ago, I suppose one of the questions that still come up is this fragrance relevant? Is this fragrance still a fragrance that can be worn in 2020? Will you smell dated? Is this being phased out in any way in terms of trends or what is popular nowadays? So I'm really excited to tell you what I think of the smell. Let's start with the presentation. Now, first and foremost, I just want to apologize for not having the box on hand for this fragrance. I actually have the box where I normally shoot my videos, but I'm in a different location now because of what's going on in the world. But if you would like to see what the boxes look like for Creed fragrances, feel free to watch any of my other Creed reviews, and I do cover it in the presentation segment. Now the bottle itself is gorgeous. It has this matte black look to it, but unfortunately it is a fingerprint magnet. So I do find myself cleaning it quite often, just as Creed here in the front, the name of the fragrance towards the bottom, and I have the 4-ounce flask. The serial number for these fragrances are always found in a different location on the bottle. Mine for this one is found right here where the tram stamp is located, I guess. Sometimes they're found at the very bottom, sometimes they're found at the rim here, and it varies depending on whether it's an international variant or a national variant. And this is just something that Creed does all the time on an internal basis to prevent counterfeits and knockoffs. Now, the cap for this fragrance does have the Creed logo in it, and this is the old style presentation, so the cap does not click into place. I wouldn't pick it up from the cap if you have one of these older variations. As you can tell, Creed is also engraved into the top of the atomizer. I remember one of the ways that people used to check if this were an authentic or an inauthentic bottle was to remove the cap, and if it has a white ring on the inside, that means it's authentic. If it's a black ring, that means it's inauthentic. And the distribution on the atomizer is very wide. Let's continue with the smell. Now, as soon as this fragrance opens up, the very first thing that you're going to smell is that bright, enveloping citrus. It's very fresh and it immediately puts you in the mindset of hotter weather, which is why I think spring is one of the more appropriate seasons in which to wear this fragrance. But I also think it's because of the two floral ingredients that are in here, namely the violet and the iris, that really makes this fragrance evocative for spring. I know a lot of people, when they're thinking of a summertime fragrance, they will either reach for Millésime Impérial or Virgin Island Water just because it has this sort of tropical coconut smell. But in the case of this fragrance, I think the ideal time to wear it is actually right now. I know where I live in New Jersey, we have had some one-off days where it was like really warm and you can spend the whole day in the backyard. As of late, it's been a little bit chilly, but I feel like this fragrance kind of matches that in-between season. So it's not too hot, but it's not too cold either. And I think it's a perfect fragrance for that sort of occasion, that sort of season and time period. Now, as the fragrance starts to progress, like I said, it opens up with a lot of citrus in the opening, and it's a really appealing introduction. I know there's another YouTube reviewer who has since passed away, rest in peace to him. My Mickers, his name is Dan, he said that this is one fragrance where he can live with the atomizer underneath his nose, and I completely know what he means. The opening is just so fresh and inviting, and it's a really addictive opening, and it's a fragrance where, although the longevity is not absolutely stellar, it's not the best that I've encountered from a Creed fragrance, it is a fragrance where I do like to apply it several times throughout the day because of that reason, but also because I really like the introduction of this fragrance so much. So you are going to get those two floral ingredients. I think the violet is perhaps a little bit stronger than the iris. Iris, if you don't know, has a reputation of smelling a little bit like lipstick or a cosmetic bag. I don't get that whatsoever from this fragrance. I do get it with fragrances like Dior by Christian Dior, and I'm referring to the older formulation, not the brand new 2020 formulation. And then as the fragrance starts to dry down, I guess a lot of people would say that it has this iconic Creed ambergris DNA in there. So a lot of their fragrances contain ambergris, including Millésime Imperial and Aventus. And I think it's the inclusion of that ambergris that makes it smell very fresh and oceanic and aromatic. In the case of this fragrance though, it doesn't smell as oceanic or marine smelling as Millésime Impérial, and I think it's because Millésime Impérial has the salty nuance in it. This one sort of lacks that. You are going to get mostly the lemon verbena, the violet, and then the ambergris in the backdrop or in the dry down. I know sandalwood is also listed as a note in here. In my experience, sandalwood is a note that can come across smelling very creamy, and I really don't get much of that from this fragrance. There's nothing overly woodsy about it. There's nothing overly creamy about it. There's nothing sweet about it whatsoever. It's just a very bright, fresh, aromatic, enveloping, and slightly floral green gentlemanly scent that can be worn in the springtime. And so I'm sure a lot of people would say, okay, so in terms of occasions, when would you wear this one? I can see a very polished, dressed up gentleman wearing this fragrance, shirt and tie, suit and tie. Maybe you're in a formal event, or you're in a business meeting, or you really want to dress to impress. This is the perfect olfactory accessory to that sort of a wardrobe. I think it's really going to work very well in terms of getting heads to turn and getting people to have a really positive first impression from you. It's just very classic smelling, very mature, very elegant, and I would say it's on par with fragrances like Aventus and Spice and Wood. If you're looking for something a little bit more casual, I would go with Original Vetiver, perhaps even Royal Water or Pure White Cologne. Those kind of smell a little bit more on the fresh and clean side. This one actually has a little bit more depth to it, which is why I actually prefer it. And while it's not my favorite Creed fragrance, it is one of my favorite Creed fragrances. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. Now, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, one of the things that I consider is how is unique a fragrance when I'm determining what the final score is, although I don't really like to put a number rating on my reviews nowadays, but I do look at the uniqueness and I find this to be a super unique fragrance. Now, of course, it wasn't the first of its kind to utilize this much citrus and floral ingredients, but I know the one other fragrance that this one does often get compared to is Cool Water by Davidoff. Now, Cool Water was composed by Pierre Bourdon. It came out in 1988, which was 3 years after the release of this fragrance. And so in that case, this is the fragrance to be credited with the uniqueness of this particular style and this particular composition. Of course, Cool Water followed it. It was a much more inexpensive alternative, and although I do own both and I own several of the Cool Water flankers, I still prefer this one. It just smells that much more natural and that much more complex to my nose, and I will never be without a bottle, and I've actually worn quite a bit of this one. In terms of the longevity on this fragrance, I get about 6 to 7 hours, so it's not the best that it could be, but it does give me pretty solid longevity, and I'm really happy with that. It gets me through my workday and it fits my needs. In terms of the projection, it's fantastic for the first 2 to 2.5 hours. After that, it does start to sit a little bit closer to the skin, and I think what's to be credited with the really good projection is the fact that it contains a lot of citrus ingredients. And I think it's the inclusion of the citrus, the bergamot, which presumably is in there. It's not listed in the note breakdown, but also the lemon and the lemon verbena that kind of gives this very bright and fresh introduction that allows it to really waft and project off your skin for quite some time. In terms of the occasion, like I touched earlier, I think because of the price of the fragrance and the way that it smells, this is the type of fragrance that I would like to wear on a formal occasion. However, I do enjoy the smell so much that I wear it all the time, and I know spring is the ideal time to wear it, but I don't wait 9 months until we come back around to spring for me to wear it. I actually wear this one all year round. And like I always say, if you're in a climate controlled environment, you can really get away with wearing this one wherever you want and whenever you want, right? And I do think that it's a unisex fragrance despite the fact that it's marketed for men. There are some characteristics in here that will of course make it lean in the masculine territory, but of course these are all recommendations. I think people should just wear what they like, wear what makes them happy. In terms of the presentation, I really like the flask style presentation that Creed bottles have, and I do find it to be one of the best presentations in the game. It's just very classy and timeless and elegant and masculine as well. So my final verdict on this fragrance, it goes without saying, it's one of my favorite fragrances of all time. Even if you look back on my channel in previous top 10 niche spring videos, you will see that this fragrance often comes in the #1 spot. And this year, I think maybe for the first year, I'm forcing myself to not put it in the #1 spot because it's just going to be a trend for like the next 10-15 years. But I really do enjoy this fragrance. It is an incredible fragrance for the springtime, and it's one of those benchmark scents. So whenever I'm discussing certain fragrances, I know Jubilation 25 is one of the best, Aventus is one of the best, Durum Intense is one of the best in my book. So whenever I'm considering these benchmark quality fragrances, Green Irish Tweed is one that always comes to mind, and I often reference in my videos, and I think everybody should have a bottle of it in their collection, whether you're an expert many years into the game or somebody who's just getting their feet wet with niche perfumery. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. That was my video on Green Irish Tweed by Creed. I absolutely love this fragrance. If you own or have tried this fragrance, I would love to know what you think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. I would also like to remind you that if you are interested in either sampling the fragrance, getting a decant, or either purchasing a bottle of the fragrance, it is available at Max Aroma. They have 100% legit and authentic products. They ship very quickly. I've met the owners of the company in person, and they are some of the nicest people that you can meet on this earth. So I'm very happy to endorse them. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would appreciate it so much if you could support this channel by subscribing to it. All you got to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related videos, and that could be a review like this, or a top 10 video, a giveaway, unboxing, special guests, it will get delivered straight to your feed, especially if you click on the bell notification next to the subscribe button as well. This way you will get it sent straight to your phone. You never need to worry about missing any of my future content. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I love you guys. Please stay safe and well, and we'll see you next time. Bye.